back at it at the Cleveland Pulse. Oh, the meeting is now being live streamed. Hold on. There we go. All right. If that didn't go through, welcome everyone to the Cleveland Pulse. I am your host, Justin Harold, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we're bringing you a little bit of a live stream, a pregame show, if you will, for your Cleveland Browns Week 15 matchup that was moved from Saturday to Monday, which is today, Monday the 20th in December. We're talking football. We're talking big game football with a lot of players missing for the Cleveland Browns and a lot of controversy around the whole moving of the game. Lots of storylines to be talked about, but first of all, Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. We're a little early. It's noon, but we have things to do. We're going to pregame here and then we're going to go pregame elsewhere. So, man, of course, if we win this game, we're first in the AFC North, correct?
Huge. Yep, absolutely.
So,
we'll be ahead of Ravens.
That's what makes me nervous, is that this game suddenly has bigger implications than, if the Ravens would have won. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it has big implications anyway, but one of those things where, man, there's no other way to put it. It's a must win.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I know you and I have already had our conversations over, and not even really the typical conversations. I was actually holding back a little bit more than usual in terms of what I was giving away in terms of my thoughts on the situation. But, we have come up with, what our final outlook with COVID will be like with the Browns players listed. I'll go read this off coming from Jake Trotter. And I'm just going to go down the list. Baker Mayfield, Case Keenum, Kareem Hunt, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, Jedrick Wills, James Hudson. That is your offensive start or offensive players that are missing. And, a good amount, of course. We will get into who got activated from the COVID list later, but we're going to continue with the defense now. Jadeveon Clowney, Malik McDowell, Jacob Phillips, Mac Wilson, Tony Fields, Troy Hill, AJ Green, Ronnie Harrison, Grant Delpit, and Jamie Gillen is still on the list. Quite a lot of names on there, Jeff. Obviously, a good amount of our starters, of course. Yep. So, but we did have players get activated. I'm trying to find that list. As far as I know, it's John Johnson, Wyatt Teller, and
that's it.
Was there not one other player? I believe there was one other player, but I don't know.
I don't think so.
Who it was. But that is the list of Cleveland Browns active or inactives from COVID and then coming back from the COVID list. So the game was moved from Saturday to Monday because of COVID. They will be playing this game now with who they have, and Nick Mullins will be your starting quarterback, amongst other new starters all over the places. So, Jeff, all that being out there and known now, what is the thought process for this game?
Well, I know I was hoping we were going to get into this because at the end of the day, this game should have just been played Saturday, in my estimation, which I don't know when it was postponed, but I guess Clowney tested positive on Friday. So I was thinking there might have been an inside chance we could have had Clowney if the game was still Saturday. I would have much rather had Clowney than James Hudson, or Clowney over John Johnson III for sure. I think that Takk McKinley being elevated is going to be helpful in that regard. Yeah. I think Porter Gustin has to be on the roster. He's going to play snaps today. So that dude seems to always make a play when he's out there, but he's just behind guys who are better than him. So, he made plays last year in big games, but now, so here's the issue with this game. You have people getting rest. So if it was Saturday, Baker would have got rest anyway. Mm-hmm. Everybody who's out today would have got rest on Saturday. And now we're going to have Nick Chubb on a short week for Green Bay. Of course, looking ahead, if we win this game, it doesn't mean anything. The Green Bay game really doesn't mean a whole lot if we win this game. But if we lose this week, it'd be nice to have people not basically having 3 days of rest to play Saturday against Green Bay. So I truly think the NFL moved it because they think there was a chance it was going to screw us over more at the end of the day, but conspiracies.
And I knew that's exactly what you were going to go for with this game. However, my biggest thing is getting the time to prep with what you have. See, because we were going into it from Saturday with the worst expectations of, all right, this is what you have. You're not going off of, all right, who might we get back? You're going off who we have, who we're rolling with. So you have Nick Mullins and you have the offensive players that you're rolling with. You get Wyatt Teller back. That's great. You get David Njoku, Harrison Bryant back, and you get snaps with all of these guys together. Yeah. And you get, Nick Mullins, he's the third guy on this list, on this quarterback depth chart. And so, that means he's probably not getting a whole lot of, practice snaps with our offensive playbook or our offensive players. He's probably running the scout team and doing all that jazz. So I think it's a really good thing that a lot of these guys who haven't played in a while, who aren't starters, who aren't second string guys, who are coming off the bench or coming off the practice squad, they have a lot to make up for. Of course, there's no easy way to get around. Hey, the entire safety team for a minute was going to be out. The entire first and second group of safeties, right. Grant Delpit, Ronnie Harrison, and John Johnson. Luckily, we get John Johnson back there, who is a clear leader. He'll have to do some coaching in the backfield for sure, and making sure that
Anthony Walker's back.
Anthony Walker as well. Yes, that's one of the guys.
Yep.
And that's great because, I think you were getting guys back. You were getting Jacob Phillips back. He's on the COVID list now. But to get, to John Johnson and Anthony Walker, the point that we made about those two very early on in the season was they haven't been playing the way that we expected them to come in and play. However, I still feel a sense of leadership from those two. I still feel like there's a lot of respect that is given from the players to those two. So to get those two back in a leadership position will be fantastic for this game and for the players that we're missing that we're going to have to sub in with, these guys. So is
Malcolm Smith active?
I believe so. I don't think I saw him.
I mean, we have 3 competent starting linebackers. The safety room is your biggest question mark.
Yeah.
Like we've been talking about, it would be nice to have Troy Hill for this game. I think that's probably your biggest defensive development is who is Denzel going to be covering. Right. I don't want really to see him on Brian Edwards, but I don't know. Does Denzel cover people in the slot? He just might today. He really just might cover Hunter Renfrow.
It's been really weird how he's gone about tracking people this year. I haven't seen like a lot of examples to point me that he's guarded guys in the slot. However, we've seen him guard tight ends. We've seen him guard the number ones and all that. So who knows what they're going to do. I'm actually going to try to look up here while we're sitting here to see if Darren Waller is active or not.
He's out. Their backup. They script their backup out of the game plan, but he's not terrible. Foster Moreau. I mean, he's obviously not Darren Waller, but I mean, I don't think he's that bad. Their backup. So Bryant is active today.
Harrison Bryant, yes. Bryant is active. So
for his warm-up game.
Yeah, well, him and Anthony Schwartz. So we should put that out there. We don't know for sure yet if Anthony Schwartz and Greg Newsom, who have been our injury guys, will be active for this game, activated. I'm going to the game, and so I have plans to go and probably before the inactive and active list gets officially announced. So we won't have that official for you guys, but we heard that Anthony Schwartz is having a good look at coming back today, which, like Jeff was alluding to, warm-up game kind of. But yeah, this is, in terms of getting back to the initial point about, the thoughts of, is this really a loss or like a win in terms of like how the NFL has done us now? Because we will have a short week going into Green Bay, and it all lies in the answer that is given at the end of the game. If we win this game, and I don't think it matters. I think perfect. We got, what that means is if somehow we get a narrow victory, it means those guys had enough time and enough, planning out to do with Kevin Stefanski, with all the backups and everything, getting into the scheme of things, getting into the playbook, and just getting comfortable with what Nick Mullins might feel, good with, and what Nick Chubb feels good with in terms of how many carries he might have. But
it's going to be a lot of handoffs.
Well, hopefully that's the case. But, we're going to be rocking with DPJ, Rashard Higgins, maybe Anthony Schwartz. You never really had to worry about getting Jarvis back into the scheme of things, but getting Harrison Bryant, and I'm not saying because he's back, but when he comes back for his next time around, But to get guys that are younger and don't have that, just ability to kind of like turn it back on right away. I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Schwartz and Harrison Bryant come back in a game that we really need a lot of guys to step up in. So what are your thought process on the guys that are going to have to step up?
I mean, our buddy Derek, DF Sports, pointed out in chat, Mullen's going to ball out. I think that Andrew Berry, and if you look at executives around sporting leagues, Nick Mullins in 16 starts. It's not like this is the first time this kid's going to step on the football field in the National Football League. He played 16 starts for the 49ers, 64%, 64.5% completion percentage, 248 yards a game, 1.3 touchdowns a game to 1.2 interceptions. I think him being a little bit reckless with the ball is the complaint with Nick Mullins. But let's check out Baker Mayfield in 50 plus starts. 62.1% completion, 236 yards a game, 1.5 touchdowns a game, 0.9 interceptions a game. So those numbers basically track as close as you could get it for a third stringer. I don't know many third stringers who are going to have like very similar numbers like that. Keenum, 62.3% completion percentage, 198 yards a game. You're getting less yardage from him, but you're getting less interceptions with him only having a 0.6 interception per game in his career start. So it's not Case Keenum. I don't think that you get the veteran decision-making that you're going to get with Case Keenum, but I think that Nick Mullins gives you a chance to drive the ball down the field if we want to take one or two shots off of play action. I think that's going to be controversial, but if you could get DPJ in a spot where hopefully Nick Mullins only has one place to throw the ball, then that's good for me. I hope that AVP is going to try to get him in rhythm. I think we don't talk about, me and you do, but I don't think people that follow the NFL talk about how much rhythm is in the quarterback spot. A couple easy throws to start the game. Don't go crazy. We don't have to be taking 30, 40-yard shots on the first drive. If it's run on the first drive, at the end of the day, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Right. But a couple of screens, we're getting Njoku back for screens. We're getting, Chubb, I know, could catch the ball. It'd be nice to have Kareem for this game, but I think that we got enough players to bolster the O-line to let Nick Mullins do the minimum.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you're going to be losing James Hudson and Jedrick Wills, but getting Wyatt Teller, the guy that we just signed because of how well he's been playing, to come back is huge. Hance will replace one of those two tackles, and then we don't know about the other one. So,
was Hance a left tackle in college?
No idea. I feel like he's played a lot of the right tackle this year. So, it depends on who they're bringing in to play the opposite side of him, and what he particularly feels comfortable with. That being said, I think what you were getting at with the whole one look and the rhythm thing is, we do a lot of slants, and we do a lot of, 9-yard comebacks and such like that. So it'll be interesting, but I definitely need to see. I feel like we've come out the past couple games and done 3 passes on the first series and just stalled out immediately. I would just love to see the exact opposite. I would just love to see each series go 2 runs, a pass, 2 runs, a pass. But,
sure.
Obviously that's a little bit too predictable and a little bit on the safe side. I do expect some shots to be taken. I'm sure that, the biggest thing that the Raiders could do is come in and, doubt Nick Mullins' ability, and he comes out and he, DPJ comes out. Those two have gotten a couple passes together, and I don't know. The funniest thing about this that I thought about was like the Raiders just, they're all upset on Twitter. They're going on about all the stuff that happened with moving the game to Monday and everything. And, the last time they were upset or had some sort of vendetta against a team, they went to their logo, did whatever, and then got dog stomped. The biggest thing for them is that they don't underestimate the Browns. That would probably be their biggest issue if they came in, underestimated the guys that were getting replaced, because those guys that are getting their first opportunities to play, they want to prove something. They want to prove that they can be out there. They're already in the 1% of the NFL being able to stick with teams through the practice squads and everything.
Right.
Now they get an actual chance to show their capabilities and maybe prove some people wrong, maybe go improve themselves and get themselves better shots to further their careers. So I feel like there's a lot to digest with, I've always had guys like AJ Green and Javante Moffett picked out because they're undrafted free agents, but they've managed to stay on the team and make the special teams part of the team, and also coming and subbing earlier on in the season like AJ Green did when our cornerbacks were hurt and such. So, a lot of guys can come in and prove themselves in, probably the biggest game of the season. But at the end of the day, I think the time that we got to adjust and rock with the people that we're going to be rocking with is pretty huge and beneficial to the whole case of the game being moved from Saturday to Monday.
Who's the other tackle? Alex Taylor? Is that who we're thinking?
I believe so. Yes.
Because it looks like I think Hans is going to be on the left side. Maybe not because they've been having him on the right side, but he made like 46 starts at Northwestern on the left side. But I think that's going to be interesting where he's at. If he's depending on which side Alex Taylor really likes to play, I'm not too familiar, but I just don't know. Like, I do agree with you that extra time is nice, but I couldn't really tell you how much Alex Van Pelt got done with Nick Mullins in 2 extra days. That's my biggest issue is that I just think holy moly, Alex Taylor's 6'8". No way. I can't find what position he plays. They just say OT, but that's going to be interesting. I'm hoping that we could get. So I think that could be your biggest advantage though. If you have Stefanski's play calling scouted, I just don't. There's not a big sample size of what Alex Van Pelt's going to call. I think that your run shells are probably going to be the same, and it's good to have Teller back on the interior for the running game. But I would. Oh man, I just don't know how Alex Van Pelt could not run 12 personnel if Harrison Bryant is like even 13, if Miller Forrestall is anyway incorporated, just because I think they're going to be in there for the pass protection in a lot of cases. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts Dearness Johnson back there a lot for picking up blocks too, picking up potential blitzes. I really don't know how much the Las Vegas Raiders blitz. I know they have 2 good edges in Max Crosby and
Yannick
Ngakoue. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's your biggest issue for us offensively. I think stopping their edges, and then for us defensively is just stopping Hunter Renfrow. They're not that scary of an offense, really. I don't want to eat my words, but they're not that scary, are they?
No, I don't think so in particular. They do have a couple of good running backs, but they haven't really been doing too well this season. I think their offensive line has been a little tattered compared to previous years. And so hopefully, getting Tack McKinley will be huge, and hopefully Myles Garrett will, turn up the amp on them. So we'll see how that goes for us defensively. I'm not too worried. And I say that obviously we are missing people, but defensively, I still expect us to play very well like we have been in the past couple of weeks. My biggest, I think the one thing that I want to hit on is talking about the offense and what potentially we could see from Alex Van Pelt and obviously Mike Prefer, the interim head coach. Obviously this team will still always have the Kevin Stefanski handprint on it, and will always have, sets, formations, play calls that are, rooted through the Kevin Stefanski ideology. But what will, Nick Mullins and Alex Van Pelt feel comfortable as a tandem? And I feel like that's a really big point to hit on is what do the quarterback and current offensive coordinator feel comfortable calling in the realm of what's going on in the game, what they were able to get done in practice, and what they just know they're good at. So obviously we know we're good at running the ball between, the tackles and with our running back. So we're going to have to stick with that to just get some sort of familiarity, at least going to start the game. Hopefully, the biggest thing is you want to start out with a lead. Hopefully, right. Whatever it is, you were able to obtain the lead, stop the Raiders on their first series, whatever it is. But when you get the lead, then you can rely back onto what we're so good at and what we were so good at the beginning of the season, which is running the ball. And you're going to have to keep my dog's going ballistic right now.
They're saying, wake up.
Wake up. But
If we go down 10-0 though, you're right. Like there's no worse game where we could be like down 2 scores. Like if we go like give up a touchdown and then like pick 6,
right.
Ugly.
You just gotta go back and watch the Denver game because of course, Case Keenum does everything that he's supposed to do in that game, and we come out with a win. I'm fine with a 3-point victory again. And I think I said that in our pregame when we thought it was happening Saturday, that I'm fine with winning a narrow game with a backup quarterback and backup, everything else. So it is what it is. Moving to the comments.
Let's hit up chat. Chat's going crazy.
We do got John in here saying, let's go. Spencer saying he's tapped in. And back to John again with Mullins going for 5 touchdowns. If he throws a dime to the zone tonight, I'm getting his name tatted on my neck.
I hope Nick Mullins creates quarterback controversy. There's no other way around it. I really hope he does. I mean, you see it in Baltimore. Tyler Huntley, 4 touchdowns yesterday. If Nick Mullins throws 4 touchdowns today and we win, I'm deleting my Twitter before the game because that's just not going to be good for me.
It would be really funny because it would be the same scenario. I would love nothing more than for Nick Mullins to go throw 4 touchdowns for 300 yards and then like people just come in and call in on the radios and be like, it's time for Nick Mullins to take the reins in the Cleveland Browns quarterback room. And then
he'd probably be the backup next year, though. If it stays with the structure,
I would be completely fine with that because I don't think and we're not going to get into that right now, but like the whole offense we'll see today, can anyone just come into this offense and just do what needs to be done in order to get a win, as long as the defense plays well enough is what it seems.
I mean, Baltimore's front office is using that in negotiations though, because if they're going to be like, if Huntley is your backup, what's the justification of paying Lamar $50 million when Tyler Huntley is basically went toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers, and us?
Yeah, I just think that sometimes you get those scenarios where the backup quarterback comes in and plays really well. The Eagles who won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. He comes in and he does well enough. He does better than well enough for the last couple games of that season and in the playoffs, and they have no idea what they're doing at quarterback the next year. Are they rocking with Carson Wentz? Are they rocking with Nick Foles? A lot of controversy and a lot of stuff, but I'm sure, for some teams, it's really easy to just ignore the one game. Obviously, Huntley played a very great game against Green Bay yesterday, almost secured them the win, which would have been huge, but, they'll always argue, and for now, just sticking with the Ravens, they'll always argue that if that's what Huntley was doing, then Lamar would have, been able to win that game, whatever. But it's just super interesting because I can definitely see your point of view coming into play and being like, hey, Nick Mullins, 4 touchdowns, 300 yards against a Raider team in a must-win game with all the COVID and stuff. I could definitely see the headlines coming in Tuesday morning and being like, there needs to be a change or something. It would actually be really funny.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I just don't think that would happen personally. But the point about Case Keenum potentially not being here next year because of how well he could play would be interesting because of the money that we've always been talking about, watching some guys play. Speaking of money, let's go and talk about 2 guys on the defense. Obviously, Myles Garrett, our highest paid player as of right now, and what he needs to get done in this game in order to, help us get a win. I don't think a sack, fumble, touchdown is in the cards 2 weeks in a row, but what kind of impact does Myles need to have in this game in order for us to, just feel the defensive presence once again?
Another touchdown.
We
needed that touchdown to win that game last week. So I don't know. I'm hoping that I'm seeing so we got a Denzel 99-yard touchdown. We have Myles Garrett strip sack, probably the play of the year for us defensively because he literally did everything. He went and picked it up. Yeah. I'm looking for a Derek Carr in the backfield, JOK,
yeah, I knew that was coming.
Strip and pick it up or something. Cause he's like that. He's really close. He's been really close to like getting turnovers all year, and he's been flying around last week. So I'm hoping that we're going to need turnovers though. There's no way that it's not going to be possible if we don't get turnovers.
Hey, a very familiar scene with us last year in the playoffs against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where we had a couple guys replacing people on COVID and everything and getting quite a few turnovers. So, but I would love that for JOK. JOK's been crazy with it. I'm still surprised that him and Greg Newsome haven't had an interception / turnover yet this year. They've both been very excellent in how they've been playing. But speaking of Greg Newsome, let's talk a little bit about Denzel Ward and, the 99-yard interception touchdown that he had. A guy that is playing for a contract at this point, and again, is the defensive leader on this team. He needs to be able to, like you were talking about, shut down Hunter Renfrow and, just continue to move around the field as well as he has been. Otherwise, Derek Carr is still a very competent quarterback with very good weapons around him at this point. Obviously, they still have Deshaun Jackson. They just got Deshaun Jackson. So there's a potential for, big plays for them. But, if we get our big time players playing big time games, then, who knows what we could do defensively.
So if you're not on Brown's Twitter, which is interesting because I'm looking at Las Vegas depth chart, but tell me you've seen this Will Compton dude for the Raiders.
Yeah.
I think he's going to start today.
Really?
Because Denzel Perriman, their starting middle linebacker is out, which is also good for us. I guess he's pretty good. And Will Compton is second on their depth chart for that position. But I mean, I'm expecting this game to be physical. And we've seen that with Denzel Ward. We've seen him last week. First time since, which I know, he's made some finesse plays since we've had him, of course, sliding under guys. But that's what I've missed about him from Ohio State is him lighting guys up. Obviously, that's how you get hurt as a cornerback. So it's not the end of the world that he doesn't do that a whole lot because I'm the first person to complain when he's hurt. But isn't it nice when people come for a contract year and they're playing the best ball of their career? I wish we could have got that from more people, honestly, especially some guys on the 1-year deals, like Anthony Walker. Kind of a tough situation for him, but yeah, he's played pretty good. But I'm expecting this game to be physical because they're on Twitter, we're on Twitter, and David Njoku's quote we'll see on Monday. So I think we're kind of talking a lot of smack for a team who is playing with practice squad guys, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think they were. I think the problem there was that the Raiders guys were coming at J.C. Tretter, who is the NFLPA president, and obviously plays for the Cleveland Browns. So
a little shady.
They're trying to make the case that the president's playing on the team that got the games moved and all that jazz. So I think from the Browns' perspective, it's them trying to defend their teammate and all that, which I respect. I think that the Raiders were just, they're being, first of all, I don't think they understood what was in the arrangement of the contract.
They had no idea.
And they were just kind of spewing their own stuff to make it seem like they were the wronged party in the situation. And listen, no one's going to be like, oh, the Raiders, or the Browns are absolutely screwing the NFL time and time again. No, that's very little does that ever happen. And this is the first time where I feel like the NFL has ever given us, what I could conceive as a gift in any way. It's okay, they gave us 2 extra days to prepare and potentially get guys back off of the COVID list. But it is what it is. The Raiders are just on there kind of blasting us, making it seem like we're trying to pull some shady stuff. And I don't know. The Raiders they're a suspect team as of right now to me because, yes, are they still good? Kind of. Yeah, they still got some competent guys over there. But the stuff that they did at Kansas City last week is
you can tell their locker room is just a mess because,
they don't. Yeah, the head coach doesn't, they're just as goofy as their last head coach.
Big goofy.
And unfortunately, it's kind of still transferred over to how they handle their business as of right now.
They've had a tough season, though. Some interesting things going on over there.
And who's to know? Maybe they do come out and they're upset because of how badly they got beaten last week, how embarrassing that was for them. And then for this to happen to them this week, who knows? They could come out and they could do all the right things and we could do all the right things. And unfortunately for us, they have more going for them as of, in terms of players and the continuity they have, but it is what it is. I'm still somehow expecting us to win this game, though.
Me too.
I was saying it before the game got moved to Monday. I was saying that no matter what, for some reason, I was still expecting a win from us. Unfortunately, it is on a Monday at 5 p.m. and like people are at work today. People are at work while we're doing this. Thank you for the people that are in here right now. If you guys haven't, please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and all that good stuff. Hit the bell notification. But it's a weird day for NFL football. Of course, you have the typical Monday night football, but this is Monday after work football. So people, don't typically go to the bars right after work on a Monday, but who knows this time around. It'll be interesting for me to go downtown and see this situation. But yeah, Jeff, for me, I'm very interested to see how this game ends up, because like you said, I think at the end of the day, this is how you look at the handling of the situation. If the Browns win, then great, it worked in our favor. If the Browns lose, it did not work in our favor. We could be in a very scary position after 8-9 o'clock tonight, or we could be in a fantastic position, which we can talk about a lot more later on. I'm sure, depending on how Jeff is feeling about it and how I'm feeling about it when I get back for the game, we could do a post-game show as well.
Okay.
Get a little bit of a reaction for what happened today. I think that would be a good idea, just because it is a weird schedule. Usually we do something different compared to what we're doing right now on a Monday, and in terms of what we would record. So why not just kind of do it up? I believe Jeff and I are both done with college stuff. And so the game should be the only thing on our schedules for today for the most part. So I'm not going to confirm that we'll do that, but I'll put it out there in the world for now. So Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd love to do a post-game show. I'm not doing anything. So Spider-Man tomorrow, but that's a different story. That's a different story. No spoilers on the internet. Speaking of the internet, though, if Max Crosby starts and Nick Chubb he better delete his Twitter, because if Nick Chubb, if he gets destroyed, this Max Crosby I've never heard of. I don't even know if he's made a start for them all year, maybe like one. But oh my gosh, I'm just so ready to totally take the filter off of my Twitter and just start freaking out, because that's how it always goes though. We'll be up and then it gets like, oh, I was ready to talk trash last week in the Ravens game and then we almost lost. But I'm going to be interested in the first drive. You put a lot of stock into the first drive, and if it's 3 passes, I'm going to be like, I'll be disappointed if it's 3 passes. There's no need for, unless it's like 3 passes that end up in the end zone, but I'm not buying that to be high percentage. So, man, this game is simple. It's another simple. The game is simple. The sport is simple. It's tough to execute though. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. I think if you followed your NFL team any bit of closeness this year, you will understand that this year has really proven that it's a simple game, but it's not easy, because, if you're a Cardinals fan today, man, I don't know how you're going on about your life if you're a Cardinals fan. That's a tough beat. Just in general, like we talked about all year, it's been a weird year of NFL football.
Yeah, it's for sure. I mean, so many storylines, especially, talking about the Detroit Lions beating the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. I mean, just something that we wouldn't have been able to call in any way, shape, or form, I believe. Comments really quickly. We got a Jeremy in here saying, why is this game? Why is it this game feels like it's got a ton of fire behind it? It's just because I think of, what we were getting at earlier, Jeremy, that, some guys on the Raiders were trying to make it out like we were being bad guys somehow, with JC Tretter being the NFLPA president, moving our game from Saturday to Monday because of health reasons and such, that, we had some guys going back and forth like David Njoku and other players between the Browns and the Raiders. So, and of course, there's a whole lot of implications in terms of the playoffs. Obviously, the Raiders not quite out of it yet, and us, the potential to be first in the division for the AFC North. There is a lot riding on this game, I think, and obviously both the Raiders and the Browns want to win. Both teams coming in with expectations of what they think they can do and what they think they can get done. So I just think that's a great question. I think there is a lot of fire that can be tracked down though.
Yeah, I think that's probably that's my favorite part of it being moved is that like imagine if I hope I'm gonna be able to watch it. I don't know what channel it's gonna be on because
I did
apparently it's NFL Network, but like it's got to be
right.
local, right?
Yeah, the NFL Network is local. It's the one thing that I believe is offered in most packages of TV providers
Yeah.
without like a fee of any kind.
But it
So
feels like it does feel like a prime time game. Like there's not going to be like reporters and stuff there, and we're not going to be like on prime time, but it does feel like it's going to be dark at 5 o'clock. So it's basically Monday Night Football.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm just gonna look it up right now. I believe Chicago also plays tonight against
Chicago
someone.
and Minnesota, yup.
They
First
are
week of the fantasy playoffs. Do you need a miracle?
I was out of my playoffs. Unfortunately, I was
Well,
the
you don't even play fantasy. You play this weird
I play
Dungeons and Dragons fantasy football where you got 9 quarterbacks.
I did have a lot going on, and unfortunately, I did not have a lot of good things going on. But yeah, I mean, we'll play and possibly be done with our game by the time the actual prime time game starts
That's what
today.
the NFL's hoping.
So it feels really nice to like kind of get like a primetime game. I don't know why Saturday for me it just didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like it was going to be a primetime game. Obviously, it's a little bit later at night. It's Monday, so very interesting for sure. But what else, Jeff? What else are you thinking?
Dude, I don't know. We got 10, 9 people in chat. I mean,
Yeah,
it's been a good one. We really appreciate you guys jumping in here for it's been a noon stream, so we
yeah.
got good showing. Spencer asking about the betting line. I don't know if we're allowed to legally comment on that because we do live in Ohio, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
Don't
Yeah,
think there's any problem with
I
that.
don't know why I don't know how we're the favorites in this game. I really don't. That's what I'm not understanding it, Spencer. -3. So they give you 3 points for the home team. So they're
Right.
basically saying if it was a neutral, they're saying that if it was a neutral site, they're saying if this was Super Bowl 50, whatever, in SoFi Stadium, Nick Mullins and Derek Carr facing off with us having 2 new tackles, basically, hence, 1.5 new tackles,
Head
not
coach.
having not having our head coach, not having our wide receiver one, and not having Kareem, that we would be a coin flip, is what Vegas is saying. I'm not getting that, Spencer. I think that's a layoff.
Yeah, that's in Jeff's ballpark too, the whole betting stuff. So
Didn't hear it
yeah,
from me though. Didn't hear it from me.
we're fine, but it's definitely interesting that I've never really understood that kind of stuff, like the negative, coming in and being
Right.
favorites in a game where
Yep.
you're just completely decimated as a
Right.
and because you're at home, it gives you apparently the slighted. Listen, Jeff and I said it. If we win by 3, that's fine.
It's a good line.
In the context of like, hey, I don't expect us to win by a whole lot, but winning in general with what we have, 3 points would be phenomenal, I think. So
Yeah.
truly a very laughable
Just look out for it though, Justin. When you're there, just most games, some games the NFL has no pull. No, actually, all the games the NFL has no pull. But just look, you'll see the plays happen. You'll see the plays develop. The Raiders might be somehow we'll be up like 2 scores. Maybe we'll be down 2 scores. There's plays where you could be like, okay, yeah, especially with coaches' reviews, turnovers, if something's a fumble, if something's an interception, just keep your eyes out. There's no definitive statements, but this team did just move to Las Vegas. So you gotta be wary.
That's crazy. That's actually so funny. Another comment from Jeremy. We still have a lot of key pieces: Garrett, Chubb, Njoku, JOK, and John Johnson the third. Yeah, we were getting into that about Denzel and obviously Miles, about how big they are and obviously how influential the run game is for our offense with Chubb. Getting Njoku back as a pass catcher and playmaker has been a huge benefit in terms of what we did get back, and getting Tack McKinley, I think, is one of those players that you didn't list, but is a phenomenal get back in terms of losing Jadeveon Clowney. Spencer, again, better question. Justin, do you think home field advantage is a factor? I don't know, because do I understand like the capabilities of a good home field advantage where we get really loud on defense? Yes, because we get very loud. Being there in person, you got people banging their hands on the chairs behind you and just making a whole lot of noise, people barking and everything. It's a good time and it's loud. But I also like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like that comes more into play in the fourth quarter if it's a close game. It can really get sucked out of the entire stadium if you're watching the Cardinals game. I think that's one of those games where at halftime or maybe in the beginning of the third quarter when they score immediately, it's kind of like the stadium has no play in the game. It's very interesting to kind of get into that idea of how much does home field advantage really kick in. And it might be the idea of a West Coast team coming all the way to Cleveland, playing on the lake, playing with the wind and factor, where you're like, all right, Chase McLaughlin has been kicking field goals here the entire season, has been making them pretty well. What is the kicker for the Raiders doing? How is he doing? How does he do in weather conditions and such? So it's definitely something to, get into the logistics about. But at the end of the day, I guess 3 points is like fair, like just kind of give a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know too much about, you do get the comments from quarterbacks and everything about how much of an impact it makes. So I guess it does play a significant role for sure.
Yeah, I think I would say we have a middle of the pack home field advantage because I feel like we know the weather, but it's often that time of year where nobody knows the weather. So it's not
Right.
like we have a huge advantage if it's windy. I think some stadiums around the league and just the travel, like you said, West Coast to East Coast to West Coast is hard. I was playing in San Francisco. I do not ever want to play in San Francisco again. And like there's just some stadiums like Denver playing 8-9 home games in Denver is definitely an advantage for teams that have to go play Denver. And of course, our favorite team, our favorite team outside of the division probably has the best home field advantage in the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs playing at Arrowhead is massive. And then you got NFC squads like Green Bay being the number 1 seed is horrific for the NFC playoffs because they play Lambeau all year. And then, Tampa's got to come play in Lambeau when it's -20, feels like -30. So definitely an interesting aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very interesting. The one thing that I looked at right now, the game starts at 5:00. The sun will be setting before 5:00. So it's interesting to think about how cold. Exactly. It's going to get very, very cold for sure. No idea what the wind looks like for, that time. As of right now, I can't get a good read on it with my weather app on my phone, but it will be interesting. There's a lot of moving pieces and parts in this game specifically that I think has already made it one of those, like, I feel like obviously as of only 2 games on the schedule for tonight, I feel like our game is way more of a must watch than even the Chicago game at this point. But it'll for sure be interesting and have a lot of implications for what these two teams do moving forward. So Jeff, what else you got before we call this one quits?
I'm just excited. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm excited for the creativity on both sides. I wouldn't be surprised if more than one Spencer, if you're listening, if you're still out there, here's the thing. And I don't, you didn't hear this from me and, gamble responsibly and you didn't hear it from me, but if there's a prop about people over, I think more than one person is going to take a snap for the Browns tonight. That's the long story short. Some places, that might be tough to find if you know what I'm talking about. But if it's 0.5 with Nick Mullins being, 0, or if it's 1.5 with Nick Mullins being 1, who knows with Van Pelt? We might go direct to Chubb. We might go direct to Schwartz for some reason. We might go direct to Stanton. Stanton played college or played quarterback in college. So a lot of moving pieces there. I think the Raiders are probably very similar. And I know their kicker is pretty good. So it's a good point, Justin. We'll see how Carlson fares in the weather. 3-point victory. I think that's the mantra for the pregame show, though. I mean, we'll just win it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's huge. I believe Jeff is talking about the kicker for the
Daniel
Raiders.
Carlson. He's having a good year.
Yeah, and then Jeremy, one more time. I think Mullins can pull it off. It isn't his first rodeo. Absolutely. We were getting into that a little bit, that he has 16 career starts. He definitely has NFL experience, and he's no longer, it's interesting to look at players who sit behind, first, second string guys. Obviously, the one big thing that I take from Mullins is the unfortunate fact that the Browns only field 2 starting quarterbacks on game days. So he doesn't get to sit down and, listen in on Case Keenum, Baker Mayfield in the middle of those games, looking at the iPad during some of those plays that, all right, what could we have done better here? What did we do well? And getting all that kind of stuff. But he has the experience of being that starting quarterback and getting that kind of coaching from, the offensive coordinator, the quarterback's coach, and all that stuff. So he's definitely got an opportunity in front of him to do, have a huge game, and even not even a huge game. A huge game in my mind for him is getting the win. If he's the quarterback and he gets us this win, that's a huge game for me, no matter the stats. Obviously, he could have a stat line of what Case Keenum did against Denver, and absolutely just kind of play what he needs to do, or he could come in and play a game like the Chargers game where we're scoring a lot of points, and he's putting the ball in the end zone, and Nick.
Oh.
But Jeff, anything else? Comments, chat, you guys got anything else you would like to put in here? Mike chiming in with a Nick Mullins can do pretty much everything we ask Baker to do. I think that's been the case for everyone who comes into this system.
That's a good part about it.
Yeah, just do what we ask, and that's all we need. We don't need too much more because we have all these other moving pieces. So I think it's a great opportunity at hand here.
I mean, I think that I'm hoping that there's going to be plays where you could tell, like, all right, this is a Van Pelt play. That's the only thing I could hopefully get from this game is like, is Van Pelt's offense that much different? I don't think that it's. Besides that, I'm not learning a whole lot. Besides, if this organization is competent, if we win this game, I'll see the organization's competent, and hopefully, I'll see some different play calling aspects, maybe.
Yeah, unfortunately, I just think it's like the Nick Mullins situation with Alex Van Pelt, where no matter what the outcome is, I don't see any immediate overturn.
Right. Yeah,
there could definitely be some discussion in the offseason about potentially, quarterback stuff and play calling stuff. Like, it's a very, this will be the second time that we see Alex Van Pelt being the primary offensive coordinator, play caller, like we did in the playoff game last year. And so it's going to be one of those situations where you could generate some talk depending on the play calling and the play of Nick Mullins and other players. So I think it's phenomenal.
Dude, is it 5:00 yet? Oh my gosh. It feels like it's like, oh, this day's gone so slow though. It's so annoying, but I do agree with you. Like you said, the Saturday game just wasn't, I don't know. I think the Christmas game is going to be weird too, even looking a week ahead, but just a lot going on. I'm going to be nervous. This game is going to be awful to watch. Even if it's a good game, it's going to be awful to watch.
I feel like we're going to be on the edge of our seats the entire way through. I think I very much believe it'll be like the Denver game where we get the lead first, but it's never like a convincing, like we're pulling away or we're two scores ahead. So hopefully we play. And I wouldn't take the chances that we normally take, obviously, in terms of what we do on fourth downs and other such scenarios. But we got to take the points when we can get them. I think letting Chase McLaughlin kick the ball through the uprights is always a good idea as long as we get him in a comfortable range. But outside of that, I think this team just, do your assignments, nothing else, and we'll come out with a 3-point victory and we'll be first in the AFC North. And that's all people will care about.
Yeah. We need to win though, because Steelers are there. Everyone's in the hunt. I mean, Miami's playing good football. So you're at the point where I don't know though. I don't think the wild card's getting it done.
Yeah, Mike chiming in with a good old, this game is going to shave years off my life expectancy.
Can't blame him.
Jeremy, how many yards does Chubb get?
Ooh.
I mean, I think most, I think one thing that Jeff has always reminded me of is just typically if you have 100-yard rush out of one particular player,
Yeah.
you're winning that game. So I would hope he's over 100 yards on his own, and that signifies a win for us. But I think that's pretty realistic. I mean, with not too many, we have been, the past two games have been very poor individual rushing games for Nick Chubb. I think it's time that he's about to, break one off, have one of those big ones that we always talk about, just getting every once in a while. Maybe he has a 60-yard touchdown run that we've been missing. This team isn't a very good run stopping defense, so it will be interesting to see. Mike, without a healthy O-line that doesn't look great, I would be inclined to agree with you if our offensive line coach wasn't Bill Callahan. And getting Wyatt Teller is huge. I think he provides a lot. And who knows in terms of like what we do in terms of running the ball. Like we might just run inside trap a lot compared to running the ball east and west like we do when we want to do the stretch plays or the pitch plays. But you might see a lot more inside stuff. You might see, like Jeff was alluding to, the 12 and 13 packages with the fullbacks.
Yep.
I think running the ball again is just going to be a staple for what this team, obviously is the best part of our team and what we should do moving forward. So.
Yeah, they've given up 125.3 rush yards a game through 13 games. So the Chargers, for reference, who we totally ran all over, have given up 136.8 in 14 games. So I think they got to be bottom third of the league with those numbers.
Right.
It's probably close with a lot of teams, but especially with like the Steelers giving up 143 rush yards a game, and they held us in check. So that's a little bit misleading, but we've been able to run on teams for the most part. I think that has kind of regressed these last couple of weeks. So it's definitely a big aspect. Let's hope that we don't get away from it if it's bad the first, 4 plays.
Right. Absolutely. So, all right, Jeff. Well, I think that's all we got for this one. And unless you got anything. So,
nope.
Everyone who was tuning in during chat, I know this is a work day for most people, so we appreciate who was able to chime in for a little bit. If you're watching the VOD, thank you all for tuning in and giving this a watch before the game. Hopefully you enjoy it. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a like, leave a comment on this video. Let us know what you think is going to happen for this game. And with that being said, we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.